Let's connect to an incident that happened here in Lagos, where a fire incident has been reported at the popular section of Lagos Island Idumota Market. The fire was due to a generator explosion. Firefighters were not on ground as at the time News Central got to the scene, and the authorities have also not commented on the incident. A social media user, Aduni, who shared updates about the fire incident on his X handle, wrote, "The fire keeps going up and people are running for safety." And to talk about this in detail, we're joined by our correspondent, Adesewa Odusoga, who is live in Idumota. Adesewa, it's good to have you join me. Good afternoon. Adesewa.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Yes, just paint a picture of your environment. What is it like right now?
All right, I would not be exaggerating if I tell you that I've not seen a thing like this before. I mean, when we got here, it was really difficult for us to locate the exact place where the market was, the fire was happening at the market. So we kept going round and round to locate this exact place. But from all indications, it appears that this fire is actually caught up with the entire street, as you can see behind me. Now, just about 2 weeks ago, if you recall, that News Central was actually at the same market to report about a fire accident that affected 4 buildings. But now at this time, the entire street is now gutted up in fire. Now, at this stretch, from what you can see, down on this street, about 15 to approximately 18 buildings have so far been affected. The entire stretch of this street is now gutted in fire. It's about a thick black smoke. And then let me tell you where the fire started. Now, look to my left now. You'll see a building with a penthouse. The fire was said to have started from this particular penthouse. And then it was according to reports from eyewitnesses, the fire started when an occupant of the house was trying to, fuel his generator. And then through this process, he noticed a spark in the generator, and then just to save himself, he threw out the generating set with the petrol inside, down to the street. And because of the heavy breeze at the time, the fire caught up with the buildings at the other end, and then before we know it, the entire street has been gutted up in flames. It's quite a sorry sight, if you ask me, and I don't know how many millions, or should I say billions, have now gone up in flames here. We see a lot of traders here crying and counting their losses. The emotions are high. People are angry. People are in tears, and I can only imagine the magnitude of the loss that they've been able to incur just by this fire incident. Imagine an entire street being gutted in fire. You'd agree with me that this is something that is out of ordinary.
How about the firefighters, Adesewa? Were they able to make it down to the scene of this incident?
Yes, definitely. I mean, if I can count now, I can say about 3 to 4 tankers of the fire service men, and they are trying to put out the fire simultaneously. About 2 of them are down the street trying to put out the fire so it doesn't affect another street. And then about another 2 are down the street which was affected, trying to put out the fire. They are doing this simultaneously, and then we have volunteers also trying to put out the fire. But it's almost looking like it's getting out of hands, because while they try to put out a fire from multiple buildings, you notice that another part of another street is actually caught up in fire. Let me show you this side of the road. This is actually another side of the street, and you can notice that fire is started to come out from that building at the other end. And then this particular building is connected to the other street at the other end. So God forbid that they're not able to put out the fire in this particular building. There's a high chance that the streets, the buildings at that particular street will definitely be caught up in flames if that particular building, if the fire in that particular building is not being put out in the next 2 minutes as we have it. But counting up to 15 to 18 buildings affected by this fire is a very sorry sight, if you ask me.
Well, from what you gather, Adesewa, from when this fire ensued and when the firefighters came on board, what's the response time like?
Actually, I believe that their response was quite impressive because unlike what I noticed, I'm sorry, there's a situation here, and the building where this fire started has now collapsed completely. We had to run for safety, but the building where the fire started has now collapsed completely from what you can see now. That is building that you can see that has just got down now was where the fire started. And we have seen indications that the building was going to cave in anytime soon. And then there's a whole of a pandemonium going on here. If you can still hear me, I don't know what next is going to happen.
Yes, I think you should just take cover for safety. Adesewa, thank you so much for that brilliant report. And there you have it, our correspondent right there live in Idumota Market. And there just happening now is a building caving in following a fire explosion right there.
Hello? Yes? I can hear you.
Adesewa, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. If you can hear me, I can hear you.
Well, we can see from this live feed that the building just caved in. I advise you to, just stay in an area where you're safe. But what are the authorities doing about this new development of a building caving in?
Sorry, can you come again? Can you come again? I can hear you clearly. Okay,
I was asking to know, with this new building that just caved in, this building that just collapsed now, the firefighters you say are present at this scene. What's their response to this at the moment?
Yes. At the moment, a lot of people try to run for safety just like I did, but they are still trying to find a solution to the actual building that just collapsed now. And unfortunately, as I can tell you now, we have to run for safety now because it appears the other building that is directly opposite the building that just collapsed is also about to collapse now. So we might have to be reporting. Okay, I think we have been able to get to a safe place now. So this building that you can see, just at this particular brown building, there are reports that it could likely collapse in the next few minutes, and so we had to take off from that particular site so as not to have a similar experience from what we just saw some seconds ago.
Does it look like a residential apartment? Do you think people are possibly in there, trapped in there?
No, there are no reports of anyone who has been trapped in there. Fortunately, because I've been trying to gather that as soon as that particular building collapsed, there are no reports of anyone being trapped in that building because I think there have been like a safety precaution that had been put in place by the fire servicemen and the National Emergency Management Agency. People have been trying to run far from the buildings that have been earmarked for likely collapse. But what we know is that the buildings, even despite coming down, is still up in flames, and they have been trying to still put out the fire. It appears that the fire is weakening the buildings, and for every building that has been caught up in fire, I think we can count about 2 buildings that have now completely collapsed, and then there's another one that is likely to collapse anytime soon. But we know that there's a heavy presence of security here. We have the National Emergency Management Agency. We have the men of the fire service. We also have the task force, the Nigerian police force, and the Nigerian army present here.
Describe the proximity of one building to the other right there at the market where you are. And would you say this could possibly lead to many more buildings, gotten out on fire?
Can you come again, please?
Okay, I was asking to know what's the proximity of one building to the other right there. We just witnessed a particular building caving in. So I was asking to understand what's first of all, how would you describe the number of buildings there? And then what is the proximity of one building to the other?
Adebola, from what I can see here, the buildings are just too close to each other, and this would have likely been the cause for the magnitude of the fire. Most of these buildings are so tight, and then what it means is that when a building is caught up in flames, there's a high chance that the next building and the next building and the next one would also definitely be affected. So I mean, that is one of the major causes of this magnitude of loss that have been incurred. I mean, the entire street has like about 15 buildings, when in fact it should have about a total of maybe 5 or 10. So maybe because it's like a commercial area, you know, most of the buildings contains actually stores and warehouses for some different you know, markets. Particularly this particular street where the fire happened, I understand that it used to be warehouses for tailoring materials, because we could see like threads and other tailoring materials on the floor. And then some said that the other end used to be warehouses for wigs. Unfortunately, the street that is like off this particular street was where a fire accident happened about 2 weeks ago, affecting 4 buildings, where one of it actually came down to the ground. Also, let me tell you that just yesterday, some buildings at Breadfruit area of Idumota was also caught up in flames and also caught fire. And then from all indication, it appears that people are starting to ask questions. Why are we experiencing fire back to back in this commercial nerve center? Idumota houses numerous businesses, and I know for a fact that I contribute largely to the Lagos State gross domestic product for the year in, year out. So people are asking questions. Is there like a propaganda behind this fire? These are questions that are left to be answered, and I guess that the state governments are best in position to answer this question. While I was walking down, I also heard someone say that, is this another style of renovating these buildings? If you are going to renovate these buildings, just say so. But I cannot totally agree with that, because most of this fire usually start from a generator spark, or particularly a faulty wire connection and all that.
Thank you so much, Adesewa Odusoga, our correspondent right there live in Idumota. We'll keep in touch with you. Please stay safe, and we'll keep tabs on this developing story.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Just for record purposes, introduce yourself.
Yes,